Podcast. Hey guys, it's Ashley.
And Naz.
Lauren.
And Dr. Mike.
Yay! Dr. Mike is back. A couple episodes ago, we talked about anxiety and depression, how Lauren and I are medicated for, well, for me, it's definitely anxiety. I definitely had a dark point of my life, but it was kind of like a sad dark point because it was about a guy. I was like literally medicated for a guy. That was like the only time that I had anxiety. Plus, I feel like it was depression. I feel like every day was dark. I woke up with like this hole in my heart every day, and it's definitely heartbreak. And I don't know where you draw the line between like actual depression and heartbreak.
Yeah. I think it's like an acute depression, right, Dr. Mike? Like some people fall into, that's what I fell into anyway.
And anxiety and depression often go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And heartbreak and environment and then anxiety, depression. So go on.
Yeah, so it would be interesting if I were to get off this low dose citalopram is what I'm on.
Okay.
And it really just cuts out a lot of anxiety. I don't think that everybody's going to die all the time, and I'm a little less OCD.
That's a little more OCD.
Oh, yeah, right. No, it's like
Thinking
anxiety and
everyone's
OCD are
gonna
also
die.
very
We can ask Dr.
entirely closely linked.
Yeah, so
right?
OCD is a low serotonin disorder. So anxiety is also related to low serotonin, but so is anxiety. So all of them are very similar, right? Mm-hmm. So some people taking an SSRI antidepressant are on it for OCD. Some people are on that class of medication for depression. Some people take it for anxiety. So, I think for a lot of people who are trying to understand what they are, they all have a lot of similarities. But I hope today people are going to also understand what are the super brain training, natural, cognitive behavioral takeaway.
I just read a comment saying we want holistic,
natural, all the stuff that I'm all about, what are the food hacks that can help you to deal with that and all that stuff too.
And Ashley and Lauren and I really want to do this topic just because I feel like our age group or demographic really deals with anxiety a lot. Like I personally didn't even know I had anxiety until like recently. I was like, oh, this is anxiety. I thought it was just like how I was as a person. And I feel like this may be a little dark, but like just with everything going on in the country, like with school shootings and like 13 Reasons Why is out, it's just like a discussion that a lot of people are having. And it's like, it's nice to have you to figure out how we can battle depression and anxiety.
Can I tell you a really
as a society.
adorable story about Naz? She was going through my book, Heal Your Drained Brain, which has the 7 pitfall thought patterns in cognitive behavioral therapy, polarized thinking, pessimism, paralysis analysis. And she was like, can I text you my homework? And she was like, okay, so I have this. And, my book helps people to look at your thoughts and change them, right? Because that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is all about. It's like training your brain, right? And she was like, okay, so I have a thought that's like this. So does this go under this category? Is it more pessimism or is it more polarized thinking? And she was, and it was actually a trick question and it was sort of a hard one because it actually had elements that would actually go under 2 different of the 7 pitfall thought patterns. So it actually had elements of both. So CBT is all about, classification of which kind of pitfall thought pattern you had, identifying it, and then looking for the contrary evidence to finding it. So she was definitely an A+ student because she was so like, funny. It was so adorable that she was like trying to classify it and was like, I was like, oh, A+, A+.
Well, we'll get into mine in a second, but I think it'd be interesting for Ashley and Lauren to go first since you and I have spoken. And then maybe all 3 of us can just go through what we battle on a daily basis. And then from there, we can take listener questions.
Yeah, I started out like trying to give a brief synopsis and then I kind of like fell down the rabbit hole of like giving you details. So this is basically what I have. I've always been anxious, but I would have to say
a good way.
In a good way?
I think growing up, you were like very just type A.
Very
anxious,
type A. Yeah.
Just like organized and worried about deadlines and whatnot.
Never wanting to get in trouble. Yeah. Just always doing like the right thing. Just like
perfectionist?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So, but then like the thing where I have downfalls is everything sounds OCD. So I will like have to touch like a doorknob or a light switch or like a little collectible. There's a time where I had to touch a collectible. Now it's down to like other things. Or if I look at something, I'll be like, if you don't touch that for 5 seconds.
Wait, the little frog with the crown on it?
No, not that one, but similar. that I would be like, somebody's going to die in your family. And I still have the somebody's going to die in your family all the time.
Yeah, like you always need a call from like your parents to make, like if they don't pick up, you get scared, right?
Well, yes, but that's more of like, that I'll go down that rabbit hole too. If my parents don't pick up the phone, then I'll be like, my mom choked. And then all of a sudden I can't chill out until I find out my mom didn't choke. But I don't know if that's normal. That may actually be normal. But but touching my frog's head for 5 seconds, and then if I didn't do it for a proper 5 seconds, then I had to count to 25.
Yes, this is definitely textbook OCD. Okay, go ahead.
So I'll count to 25 because I have to do 5 perfect times because 5 is my lucky number. Now, of course, I think my boyfriend's going to die if I don't touch things. This is my new thing. So.
I never knew you had to like touch things. I never knew that about you.
OCD, I feel like, comes a lot when things are going well.
So this is my current anxiety.
Oh yeah.
Everything in my life is like really in place right now, like insanely. I have the triangle that they talk about. I don't think it's on Sex and the City.
Yeah,
but yeah.
You can only have 2 at one time.
So,
was that on Sex and the City?
I don't think so. I think it's just like a common girl thing, Lauren.
It's on Sex and the
Maybe.
City.
Okay, fine.
We'll find out. Carrie said it.
Okay, you can't have the boyfriend, the apartment, and the job at the same time. And I very much are very solid in every category right now. And I'm now thinking, okay, well, savor today because tomorrow your life may not end, but
only get worse.
Ashley feels like it's so good that something bad's going to happen.
So now you're waiting for which shoe's going to fall off because all the shoes are on.
I'm like, which person in my family is going to die now because you can't have it all?
Right.
So I'm constantly like worried. And now I was like booking this trip. Jared and I are going to Hawaii tomorrow. And I'm just like, we're going to die on the plane tomorrow. Like, that's how this whole thing's going to end.
And you don't have to tell me who it is in your family if you don't want to out them. But do you have any family history of any sort of depression, anxiety?
My dad,
my dad
like a mental breakdown in his 20s.
He like doesn't talk very much about it, but he had to go to the psychiatrist like twice a week.
Okay.
Due to his mother's anxiety.
Apparently due to his mom. That's what it's always linked to.
Yeah.
You know.
So definitely some family history of neurochemistry, probably some low serotonin. And, when you have a family history, it doesn't matter if your mom had depression or your dad had an anxiety disorder. Because remember, a low serotonin anxiety disorder, OCD is related to low serotonin. So, yeah, that all makes sense.
I feel like it's so rare to meet someone who's not like, oh yeah, I'm anxious too. I have anxiety too.
Yeah,
so I know I'm supposed to give my story right now, but at what point does it go from like, I'm so depressed to like, you're depressed?
Yeah.
So
that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question because it is really dangerous when somebody has major depressive disorder, right?
Well, before you answer that, actually, I think it's important, real quick. Sorry, Lauren, for you to define anxiety and define depression, right?
Yeah.
And then go into Lauren's question.
Yeah, so they are different, right? Because we talked about serotonin, and then there's the other major brain chemical is dopamine, right? So in depression, it can either be low serotonin or low dopamine, or sometimes both. And by the way, there's other brain chemicals like glutamate and norepinephrine, but let's just simplify them, right? So serotonin, your main downer, right? So if you do Molly, that's going to boost your serotonin. If
that's
you do
why
cocaine,
I cry after.
That's going to be your
when
dopamine,
I come down
right?
from Molly.
Yeah, that's true. So depression is really about feeling more hopeless, right? So your downers, your uppers are down, and anxiety, your feel-good downers are down, right? So when you're anxious, it's all about what I call your mantra. So if your mantra is something along the lines of I'm not okay, or I'm not going to be okay, or someone I love is not going to be okay, e.g., who in my family is going to die, or is our plane to Hawaii going to go down? That's some version of we're not going to be okay. My family's not picking up the phone. They're not okay. That's anxiety.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
totally.
Depression is some version of I'm not good enough. Right? Or
low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. It's dark. It's bleak. So if I were to give them a color, I would say that anxiety would be red or yellow.
I see it.
And depression is black.
With the word. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
And so while they have similar brain chemicals involved and similar brain structures involved, that's how I sort of define them to people so that they understand like what's the difference. And then to answer your question about what's the difference between, because it's different, especially depression versus anxiety. the difference between feeling, we throw around the word depression a lot.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between feeling depressed. There's a diagnosis. In our culture, when we say depressed, we're actually talking about minor depression or dysthymic disorder, which no one knows what that means. That's just like minor depression.
Okay.
So major depressive disorder is a diagnosis where people feel fine, and then a depressive episode, which usually lasts a couple weeks or more. And they're like literally, so it's like you're fine for a month, and then it's like you can't get out of bed for 2 weeks. And then you're fine, and then it falls out.
It's
so
a
it's
little
the same,
bipolar.
So the only difference, so that's a great comparison, because the only difference between bipolar disorder and major depressive disorder is the absence of the manic episodes.
The manic.
So
Wow.
they're both polar disorders, meaning so in bipolar they're up and down. So if you're bipolar, you have an up and then a normal and then a down and then a normal. A major depressive disorder, you have normal, down, normal, down. Does that make sense?
Wow.
So
Very interesting.
So if somebody is like normal and then like they're like they disappear off the face of the earth for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then they're normal again, and then 2 weeks, that's major depressive disorder.
Got it.
Really quick, though, I have to tell you guys about one of my favorite sponsors because Ritual has changed my life. Lauren, I hate taking vitamins because I feel like they taste so gross and they smell so bad. And finally, I found a vitamin by Ritual, and it's the only omega-3 that actually tastes good, and it has like this natural mint essential oil smell.
This is exactly what Dr. Mike's been talking about. We got to take our vitamins, so we don't need to take actual drugs that change our brain chemistry. We can do it naturally. We can do it with Ritual, and it's tailored to your body.
Also, it's vegan, sugar-free, non-GMO, gluten-free, and allergen-free. I mean, this stuff is the best, you guys. It's made in the U.S., no synthetic fillers, no colorants, none of that BS that's in all the other stuff you're taking.
It's delayed release capsule, bypasses the stomach to help prevent nausea. That's a lot of the reason why Ashley doesn't take them, because she feels sick at night after she takes them. Mint scented with an in-bottle tab enriched with pure peppermint oil, patent pending technology and formulation.
But the best part, though, Lauren, is that it's subscription based. So you guys, you don't even have to worry about going to the grocery store, trying to figure out what the hell all the bottles mean in there. Just sign up for this. It'll come to your door. You won't have to worry about it, and you'll be a healthy person. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. Fill the gaps in your diet with the best source ingredients. Forget a few days, snooze your order until you catch up. Happiness guaranteed. No questions asked. Cancel easily anytime.
And it's $30 a month, and they deliver right to your door. So forget everything you thought you knew about vitamins, you guys. Ritual is the brand that's reinventing the experience with 9 essential nutrients that women typically lack the most. And if you're ready to invest in your health, do what I did and go to ritual.com/getit. That's ritual.com/getit. And I promise you, your future self will thank you for taking Ritual and consider it your lifelong health, 401k. And all you have to do is put in $1 a day because it's $30 a month. That's literally $1 a day. Think of how much you already spend on your food. Why put anything else but clean ingredients in your body? Again, go to ritual.com/getit and get healthy, guys.
What's the difference between just being a nervous person and having anxiety?
Yeah, that's
that's a great question too. So
like what's normal? I guess it's based on the circumstance. Yeah.
Yeah, and in my book Heal Your Drained Brain, I talk about the subtypes of drained brains and anxiety disorders. So
it's such a good book. You guys have to get it.
There's all these different ways that anxiety can present itself, right? So if you have panic disorder, that's a type of an anxiety disorder, and that I talk about it as now within anxiety, you have what I call in my book skyrocket drain. So in that kind of anxiety disorder, you're going to have adrenaline skyrocketing. So then you're going to have these panic attacks and everything's going to go off like a skyrocket. Like if I were to graph your stress hormones, adrenaline especially, and then norepinephrine is going to take off like a rocket. And then, adrenaline's going to make your heart beat fast and it feels like you can't breathe and your palms are going to get sweaty. So you may have that kind of anxiety disorder. So if you feel like you're having a heart attack, but it's really a panic attack.
My anxiety goes to my butt.
Oh my God, Lauren!
My
what do you mean?
stomach and my butt, like I'll
you have to poop, right?
I'll throw up or poop or something like that.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because you know what the feeling of butterflies in your stomach, do you know what that means? You know what's happening?
You have a crush on someone?
Well, yeah, sort of, because what's happening when we move from so usually when we're in a normal state, we're in what we call rest and digest, right? So our bodies are sending blood to our organs needed to, rest and digest, right? So pooping and digestion. When we shift to fight or flight, or, when we have a crush on somebody or like we're like in danger, the blood leaves the stomach because the body says, I don't need to digest anymore. I need to send all the to the organs needed for a quick getaway because I'm in danger. So literally, when you feel butterflies in your stomach, that is the blood literally leaving your stomach.
That is so crazy.
That's butterflies in your stomach.
That is so crazy.
Isn't that fascinating?
That is
so
so
then,
fascinating.
what happens when you're on a love high? Because I've had a couple days in my life where I'm either actually on a love high, or completely on a love low, where I lose complete appetite. What's that?
Yeah.
So this is really interesting.
That's a little bit about mine.
Yeah. So when you fall in love, two things happen in the brain. Your dopamine spikes really, really high, and your Naz knows. And your serotonin goes really, really low.
Oh, man.
So imagine, so going back to the cocaine and Molly thing, right? Imagine you just did a ton of cocaine, but you also were coming back from Coachella and you just did like 8 Mollies a day for 3 days. That's what happens when you first fall in love. Your serotonin plummets and your dopamine goes really, really high.
That's
so
why
you're
people
really,
love
That's why people
really
do drugs.
excited, but you're also with no serotonin. You're really, really obsessed with your love object, and you feel like
You're being fed off them.
Yeah.
And like you're obsessed, and you don't want to eat, you don't want to sleep. You're just like, like I just did like an 8-ball, and I also just got done doing Molly, and I have no serotonin left. That's what it feels like to be in love when you first fall in love.
Yeah.
But then what happens when you stay in love? Those two neurochemicals switch places.
So do you want to eat more and more, right?
Sort of.
Some people.
Some people do. Some people don't.
Actual
happy
food more and more.
eaters.
Yeah.
Or
Some people like me just eat all whatever.
So in dope,
it makes you want to eat
I'm
real
sad
food,
I'm eating.
right?
I'm happy I'm eating.
So usually when dopamine goes low and serotonin goes up, you're probably more likely to eat more because when dopamine goes up, most people are not going to want to eat. So then you're going to feel, when serotonin goes up, you're going to feel secure and happy.
Yeah.
But you're not going to feel
Obsessed.
Yeah.
So people who
interesting.
are sensation seekers are going to go. So you probably know a lot of people like this.
We talked
They
about
go
this
from
on our cheating episode
they
with
go
you,
from
right?
relationship to relationship because they're chasing the high. They can't commit because
that's sad.
The high comes with a low, so that's why a lot of people don't chase and will settle because then you got to go through the whole.
I think
sadness.
that was the guy that broke my heart with the sensations because he went from one relationship to another to another.
And you know what they do?
be.
They misinterpret the dopamine coming down in their brain. They think,
As falling out of love.
I'm not in love with this woman anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go
Those
on to
are
the next
terrible,
one.
scary
But that's-
people.
idiots.
They're,
That's
they're
scary.
idiots.
Alrighty, guys, quick break. Let's talk about Omaha Steaks and that you're probably going to get this for your dad on Father's Day because it's the greatest gift you can give to a man.
The greatest gift ever. You guys, these steaks, what are they? The kielbasa sausages. I love how you say it, Lauren.
Kielbasa.
This food package, whenever it comes to my house, I get so excited. My favorite thing that we're making tonight, actually, Lauren and I, are the caramel apple tartlets. Guys, these tartlets, if you heat them up and put some vanilla ice cream in it, it's just like, I don't even...
It's like a restaurant grade shit right here.
It's
and
so
listen,
good.
Listen to all you get in this box. You get 2 tender filet mignons, 2 beefy top sirloins, 4 chicken fried steaks, 2 boneless pork chops, 4 all beef Omaha steak burgers, 4 gourmet jumbo franks. I honestly end up laughing in the middle of reading this because I can't believe how much you get.
It's so
I'm
much
not done.
food.
I ain't done.
All right, keep
12
going.
ounce of all beef meatballs, 1 pound of steakhouse fries, 4 caramel apple tartlets, 1 Omaha steak seasoning packet, plus you get 4 grill ready Omaha steak burgers free with purchase. And again, This is a limited time package for only $49.99 when you go to omahasteaks.com and type get it in the search bar and add Father's Day package to your cart.
Guys, honestly, like if your dad opens this on Father's Day, you will 100% be the best child in the entire world.
Well, so it's a limited time offer for our listeners only for Father's Day at 78% off. This is really amazing deal.
You guys, 78%. Come on.
It's a perfect, like, no-brainer. Go get this. Go to omahasteaks.com, type in get it on the search bar, and you get Omaha Steaks for Father's Day.
Father's Day package. Get it.
Don't wait. The offer ends soon. Go to omahasteaks.com and type get it in the search bar. Grab your dad and fire up that grill.
All right, Lauren, what's going on with you?
My, like, journey.
Your journey. What do you want to ask Dr. Mike?
Well, actually, a couple weeks ago on our Facebook group, there was a girl. She was like, I am tired all the time. I sleep sometimes 8, 10, 12 hours. I'm exhausted all the time. And then I was like, that's totally me. But I also think it's from my Prozac that I've been taking for so long makes me sleepy. So they were getting into like things we should do holistically. So what do you have for that?
I have a ton of stuff for that.
Okay.
So it's they're all in my, they're in this book, Heal Your Drained Brain, and also my last book, The Brain Fog Fix. There are so many incredible, I'm not except in the most extreme cases, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of medication. I think there are a lot of incredible alternative holistic treatments.
Yeah.
And, one of my favorites.
You gave me a lot of yoga poses that help for different things.
Yep. Yeah, so I have a protocol called energy-based cognitive therapy, which combines yoga poses with cognitive behavioral therapy.
It's so cool, you guys. Like, in the most plainest terms, it's like if I feel anxiety or if I feel like, when your brain leads one thing to another, you're like, oh, this happened, so this happened, so this is going to happen. He has a special pose just for that thing. Oh, and that's basically what I was asking him about earlier. I was like, so for this problem,
and they're kind of irrational
which pose do I
do? Doing too?
Well, there's different kinds. There's like anxiety, there's
so
pessimism, where I'm like, I'm never going to get this gig or something. It's like, and he has a specific pose.
So you interrupt
for each thing.
So you interrupt
really
that
cool.
negativity.
Right.
There was a study.
It worked.
There's a couple studies. One involved Botox, but the interesting study involved chopsticks. Right. So the subjects didn't know what they were doing. They just had to hold here. I'm going to use my Starbucks straw. They had to hold a chopsticks in their mouth, and the subjects were like, I don't. Okay, I'll hold the chopsticks, right? And they held like this, right? And what are you doing? I'm
he has
smiling.
A straw in his mouth, smiling.
But I don't really know. I'm like, okay, I'll put the chopsticks in my mouth, and they had them like do some stuff, and then some stuff that probably made them like not so happy, like math or something. And then they had them rate their moods, and of course there was another group, like a control or something. And what do you know? Like when you make your body do something that is like, a half smile or a pose, like star pose from yoga, where you're like, yeah, I'm the best. I got it. Yeah. Your brain sends a signal like, yeah, you do got it.
Yeah. So basically, sleeping all day is just perpetuating that thought.
That's right. So you have to interrupt that.
The sleepy thoughts.
But there was another
study.
Not the
sleepy thoughts, but like
being sleepy.
Being sleepy and continuing to sleep all day is just perpetuating your depression.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of my favorite ones that Dr. Mike has, if you guys are ever sad, or I forget which one this one's for, it's literally smiling.
Yeah.
So if you see you're getting
that,
thoughts,
but I don't know if I feel about
it works. You go like this. Like literally for like 60 seconds, and they're like, "Oh, okay,
really?
Yeah, it fucking works. It's so
I don't know that would work for me,
or if you can't do a full smile, just do a half smile. Put a half smile on your face, and then think of all the times in your life that is the contrary evidence to whatever negative thought you're thinking. Like, like my parents are going to die if they don't pick up the phone. Like, put a half smile on your face, and then look for the contrary evidence. Like all the times when you thought they were dead, but they weren't. And I'm sure you could find like 50,000.
Sometimes,
right?
yeah.
And then it's like, oh, there's contrary evidence. Right. This is probably an irrational thought that I probably shouldn't believe because it's probably wrong, right? So don't confuse the probable with the possible.
So is that what you suggest for me when I go on those weird cycles of thought? Like, what about when I see something and I'm like, you have to touch that 5 times or somebody's going to die? How do I convince myself? I know. I'm just like, you know what? Just do it so you don't have to think about it for the next 20 minutes that you didn't do it.
You need exposure therapy. So here's I'm going to save you $1,000 in therapy right now. So this is all you need to do is don't do the thing.
Yeah. And then
And feel
prove to
everything's
yourself
okay.
that
And
everything's
see
fine.
what happens, and that's exposure therapy.
Yeah, but you have to do that.
What a risk.
Like 25 times,
Over
right?
and over and over
It
again.
takes like 100 times to break it, though.
And then every time you do it, you get evidence that the thought wasn't real. And on the 25th, 50th, 100th time, you're like, oh, that thought really isn't real.
Yeah.
Got it.
I used to not put our car keys on the.
She still does it.
No, I do it now.
You've been doing
I've
it now?
changed
Good.
now. Okay, on like the hook designated for the car keys, because one time I didn't do that, and my boyfriend like didn't talk to me for like
oh no,
an hour.
So she just leaves the
So
keys
I
on the kitchen
have
counter.
never
Oh,
done
it
it.
was so annoying.
But ever since we moved into our new place, I have been consciously
okay, you're going to put it on
Yeah.
there.
Good
Okay,
job,
so I
Lauren.
noticed that when I move into a new place, I'm able to mentally
Start
say
fresh.
start fresh.
Yeah.
There was like this time, I used to have this bathroom procedure that I would do all the time. Like, whenever I take a shower, whenever I would take
Wait
a
for
shower,
how
I had
long?
to do this. And then like I moved into a new place, like I think it was when I went to college, and I was like, okay, now you can't do that anymore because you're in like a public bathroom.
Oh my
so
God.
that was, then I stopped and everything was fine.
Yes.
Right.
And I've gotten so much better, you know, being on the medication has lowered that, and it just makes me like freak out a lot less. Everybody will see that if I am off my meds for a couple days,
I think it's in her head.
she thinks it's in my head, but I will get so irritable.
She's
like I
very
want to
irritable.
kill everyone if I'm 4 days. Like if I don't go to CVS and forget to pick it up for 4 days, I'm like,
I've
Well,
only
yeah,
experienced it twice, and I feel like it is a little different.
Well, that's
like you do get more irritable.
I'm
But you
sure
don't
that's
think that
true,
one?
but you
I
also
think
have to
once she
understand.
realizes she's out, then
that-
she flips.
Well, I'm sure a
so
lot
it's
of
in the
that.
head.
A lot of that is. Some of it is probably placebo, and
Yeah.
it is also rough to come off antidepressants. It is rough.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you come off
Okay.
for 4 days,
Yeah.
it is not going to feel good.
I mean,
at
look what happened to
all.
Kanye
Yeah.
West.
yeah,
It's going to be rough.
yeah.
So yeah, you probably
The way
are
you
going to
said
feel
that.
really bad
Okay,
for 4
okay.
days.
So I am.
All right.
Good. So if it's something is going,
There's
okay,
a
good,
New York
good.
Times article on my Facebook, like, and the New York Times article was many people taking antidepressants realize they can't stop.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
yeah.
why it's been 15 years.
for you.
But here's an alternative. This is one of my favorites. This was a placebo double-blind study done, and a lot of people were in the study. So it wasn't like 8 patients. It was like a ton. They put one of them on a prescription SSRI antidepressant, and they put the other group on high a fish oil with high EPA and low DHA. So we're looking at
What
about
does that mean?
it's the ratio. So you're looking at the back of the bottle because EPA affects mood. DHA is for cognition. So you want on the back of the bottle. There's only like 3 brands or 4 brands that have this. So you're looking for 1,000 milligrams of EPA and only about 150 milligrams of DHA. This is actually a pretty hard to find ratio because it's a very potent EPA formula. Probably the most readily available brand that has this, a ratio or close to this is the Nordic Naturals brand. They have one that's called EPA Extra. That I really like this brand. I give my dogs this brand. They have a pet one.
Okay.
There's another couple
Your
brands. I
dogs aren't
like.
happy?
Oh yeah.
Now they're happy.
Yeah, now they're happy. And it was effective in treating major depressive disorder. If it's effective in treating major depressive disorder, it's amazing for anybody with minor depression. It's probably very effective for things like OCD,
And it's
anxiety
natural.
disorders, and it's natural, and it's not going to be rough as being
Interesting.
Yeah.
to come off of like
Very
prescription
interesting.
antidepressants.
One second, just a thought. When you walk down the toothbrush aisle at the store, it doesn't take long to realize there are a lot of options, and many of them are actually gimmicks. So we're buying off of the color of the packaging or the princess toothbrush.
I'm so that person too. I'm
The-
like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah,
Let me
exactly.
buy it.
The truth is, you really just need something that guides the simple habits most of us get wrong when brushing our teeth, and Quip knows that.
For starters, Quip is an electric toothbrush, you guys, and it's a fraction of the cost of the bulkier brushes that you see in the grocery store aisle, while still packing just the right amount of vibrations to clean your teeth. So it has a built-in timer. It helps you clean for the dentist recommended 2 minutes. We all know not everyone does the full 2. I'm talking about
Me.
Not you, Lauren. And it has guiding pulses that remind you when to switch sides. I mean, come on, guys.
That's
this thing
genius.
does, though. It's like cruise control on a toothbrush.
It was also on Oprah's O list and named one of the time's best inventions, and in the first subscription electric toothbrush accepted by the American Dental Association.
Well, look
Isn't
at that.
crazy?
And it also comes with a mount that suctions right to your mirror, and it unsticks so you can, take it when you're traveling with you. Basically, wherever you take your teeth,
Yeah, Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/get-it right now, just right now.
What will they get, Lauren?
You'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/get-it. Spelled GETQUIP.com/get-it. Back to Mike.
So when I decided to go on medication was like 5.5 years ago. And as always, a naturally anxious person, and my dad having had such similar symptoms in his 20s was always like, you gotta go medicated. It'll change your entire life. But the real reason that I said, okay, let's do the medication was because of this guy who was just, I thought in my 25-year-old brain was the love of my life. And I thought he was, and when he ended things, every day was a sad, cloudy day in my life. And then it was like that for 2 full months, got medicated. And after the 6 weeks of being on it, everything felt a lot better. So do you think that was heartbreak or depression?
I think it
There's
was probably
a very
a little
great
bit of
line
both.
between both, right? And that's what I went through. Kind of.
I think you did too.
I had an acute depression,
and it's like if you have
That's
a tendency,
momentarily.
it's sort of like, okay, if you have BRCA, right? If you have
What's BRCA?
The gene that the Angelina Jolie gene, right?
Okay.
So epigenetics means if you have a genetic tendency. Genetics load your gun, but it's environment that pulls the trigger, right? So if you have...
That's such a good line. Genetics load your gun, but environment pulls the trigger.
Yeah, so maybe your gun was, quote, loaded, but it was the breakup that pulled the trigger for you.
Okay. Right.
So had you not gone through the breakup, maybe the trigger would have never been pulled, but you went through the breakup and you had a loaded gun.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes so much sense. So much sense. Then what about antidepressants and anxiety medication, and then sex drive? Because I've got zero. I'm being honest, and I'm really upfront with guys.
Happens.
And I
I'm
think
really
that's
upfront.
so open and awesome
Very
that
good.
Ashley's vulnerable about that, because a lot of
Yeah,
men
we
go
need to
through
talk
that.
about this.
No one wants to talk about anxiety and depression in general, which is why I love her doing this. But a lot of men take Propecia too, and then lose their There's so many medications that
big time, and it's it's worse. The SSRIs they're bad for sex drive, weight gain, and by the way, emotional blunting. So what happens is the lows get cut off, but by the way, so do the highs.
Yeah.
So you just become a little bit numb. Which, listen, if your depression is that bad and you just are like, sure, if you're gonna kill yourself, then maybe you should be on that. But there are other alternatives. I'm a big fan of TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is FDA approved for depression, and they now can use it for anxiety as well, which is it's non-invasive. They just put a magnet on your brain and turn up the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex.
What?
You sit in it looks like a dentist chair, and they put a magnet over your brain, and they turn up or turn down the activity.
It's
in your
not
brain.
invasive, right?
It's non-invasive. It sounds like an MRI machine, and if you have depression, they put it over the left side, right here, over your
That's
left
so cool.
eye, and if you have anxiety, they turn down the right side, right? So
How long does that last?
To get started, you need you have to go. The only thing that sucks is getting started, because you have to go 5 days a week for about 4 to 6 weeks.
No.
But
But
after that, you just need a maintenance treatment. So then you probably just go once.
Then you're
An
happy
oil
as
change.
fuck forever?
I mean, sort of.
What?
Then you just need one treatment every
How much does this cost? Is this what Gwyneth Paltrow does?
I don't know. Does she? I've looked that up.
I'm assuming that she does all the
would do
latest
that.
weird shit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Goop.
How much
right?
is this expensive?
Well, insurance often covers it. So a lot of people, a lot of patients that I referred pay nothing.
It's called TMS.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very
Good to know.
interesting, actually. Okay, great. So basically, there
are alternatives.
There are alternatives
out
to
there.
the medication, but if you have
you
a low
don't
sex
know-
drive, on your meds, it's just like, that sucks for you, right?
And and essential amino acids, so things like, your diet. We know that diet is so huge. Diet and exercise are so effing effective for depression and anxiety.
And
no one is
any
talking
mental
about
health.
them.
I know.
1,000%.
I work out for that reason, not to be skinny.
Too.
I work out just to have an hour of not thinking of anything but like this miserable push-up.
Me too.
It makes you stop thinking
That
about
is definitely
life.
true. You don't think about anything about that other than your
Well,
And then you
physical
walk out sweating
misery.
and you're like, oh, I might get skinnier because
Exactly.
this is the best feeling
Yeah, it
ever.
is. No, it's
Me
good.
too.
Yeah.
I'm so
But it's
stressed
miserable.
out.
It's
But
miserable.
I get on the treadmill and do interval training for like the stress relief more than the physical. Well,
Right.
it's great for both. But me too.
So would that help sex drive? Like eating
absolutely.
right and
Yeah.
exercise?
Absolutely. Omega-3s can help with wetness, lubrication. Omega-3s can help with your mood, your sex drive, and a lot of the essential essential amino acids. So you want to get those essential fatty acids, i.e. your omega-3s, but you also want to get the essential aminos, right? So when you look at supplements and you look at things like L-theanine, or you look for anxiety, or look at things like a 5-HTP supplement, and especially the B vitamins. Oh my God, you give somebody a B vitamin, and especially if are you Italian?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to talk about this. All right.
Wait, can I just say real quick? We have an amazing sponsor called Ritual, you guys, and they are the best vitamins ever. So if you're lacking or deficient in vitamins, you should hit that up. But anyways, okay, what about being Italian?
And vitamins are huge. And you're Latina.
Yes.
So if you are Italian or Latina or Chinese.
So everyone at this table?
The three of you.
Okay.
You are at greater risk for having a gene called MTHFR. And by the way, and even the general population, your risk is about 30%. So you can't convert basically the B vitamins, so two in particular. So folate, which is also vitamin B9, that's folate,
Okay.
and vitamin B12.
Wait, that's like the most important one.
Those are
right?
the most important ones
I have
for
a
mood.
B12 deficiency.
I would be. I think
You do?
everyone.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I don't know. I
all
got my
do.
blood work done, and they were like, "You'd have 0 B12."
Is that right?
Same.
All of I took a test online. They're like, "You have 0 B12."
No way.
Okay, so this could be why.
Yeah.
So you're Italian,
Yeah.
so this is interesting. So people have trouble converting the B12 and the folate in their diet to their methyl versions. So then B12 and folate become methyl B12 and methyl folate. Your body needs those methyl versions, and they become activators. So then your body takes the amino acids from your food, and then it needs the methyls of these B vitamins, and they become activators so that your body can make dopamine and serotonin.
Shut the fuck up.
So guess what happens?
So we're
if-
more prone to
Yeah.
depression.
I take
and anxiety
no B12
and low sex drive.
and I already have low serotonin, so I should be taking that.
But guess what? If you some people can take the regular B12.
We have to take high dosage.
No.
Shots?
If you
Magnets?
methyl versions.
What does
Okay.
that mean? The way you said it,
it's
like
like
a
a
heckle. The way you said it sounds like you have to get it from a guy in a car.
No, it just
down the
means you
street.
need the back of the bottle should say it'll be a really long word, but you're just looking for the word methyl. METHYL,
Okay.
B12, and methyl folate. Because if your body doesn't have the ability to convert it into B12 and folate into methyl B12 and methyl folate, it's not going to be able to use it. And then you're going to have low B12, and then you're going to have low serotonin and dopamine, right?
And then I want to take naps all day and be
Wait
really
a second.
sad.
So
and
you're saying that
you can test this. So a lot of the things that I do, I recommend a lot of, people are testing this. So I work with, I recommend a company that does a lot of testing. So you can test things like thyroid, your
Right.
thyroid. You can test your vitamin deficiencies.
levels.
I have a discount code if you guys want it. I recommend the people that I work with. I recommend what you can test. You can. Why guess when you can test? Because what you can test, then you know what exactly is off, as opposed to I'm just gonna
Take us and see what happens.
Yes.
What's your discount code for people listening
what
that
is
want
this?
to do it?
It's Dr. Mike 10, which gets you 10% off all their tests at livewelltesting.com.
Cool.
Okay, great.
So
Guys.
I like the thyroid for mood. There's tons of tests that I recommend. Yeah, I actually, can you see that a bunch of hair missing on the back of my head.
No.
So
Ashley said
I
nope.
gave myself a haircut because I just did my toxin tests because I'm going to check to see how dirty I am in terms of like mercury and lead and other things that also affect your
I want
mood.
sushi tonight.
You can test your vitamins, you can test your thyroid, all these things you can get at home for these like home test kits, like 23andMe. These are all, you don't have to go to a doctor anymore. You can get them. They send it to you. You can check and I think for mood, well, most importantly, check your neurotransmitters. So check in your urine. You just pee on this little stick. Not a stick. It's like a little cardboard thing, and it has to dry. And they give you a UPS mailer. I checked mine. So I checked my dopamine, my serotonin. You should check. You should actually instead of just like, we'll put you on a medication. Why don't you check to see what that person needs?
They don't do that very often.
Ever.
No.
They don't do that ever. It's very bizarre to me.
Crazy. That's actually nuts. All you do is pee on it.
For neurotransmitters, yeah. And then if you and for stress hormones, that one's actually really cheap. It's like 120. All you do is you spit. So cortisol, the stress hormone, you can measure that with saliva. Right. So we can look at your cortisol. So cortisol, your stress hormone, it should go up by 50% in the morning, and then it should go down throughout the day, right?
Honestly, like every primary physician should be doing this.
I agree.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I agree.
Taking a moment to talk about FrameBridge, everyone. FrameBridge, y'all. Okay. FrameBridge, y'all.
Tell me about FrameBridge.
FrameBridge. If you've previously listened to this show, you've heard us talk about FrameBridge. They make it super easy and affordable to custom frame your favorite things, from art prints and posters to the photos on your phone. It's so easy. Here's how it works. Go to framebridge.com, upload your photo from your computer or directly from your Instagram feed.
Which is so genius.
For them to print.
Or if you have a physical item, like a ticket stub or an art print or posters, or a hot guy's phone number, because you love him that much. You can frame that. What else could you frame, Lauren?
You could frame... What else could you frame?
You could frame socks if you want.
You could frame socks. You could frame anything you want. So you preview your item online in any frame, choose your favorite, or get free recommendations from the experts.
And the expert team at FrameBridge will custom frame your item in days. So this isn't one of those things where you have to wait weeks and months. You're like hoping the package is going to be at your door. This thing is ready in days, y'all.
Ashley and I ordered one of our family, and then she got one of Jared and her, and it comes in great packaging. You don't have to worry about the frame breaking. It comes really fast, and it's really well taken care of.
And it's ready to hang.
All ready to hang.
So you don't have to do any of the work. And that's the best part, I think.
Actually, you're wrong. The best part, instead of the hundreds you'd pay at a framing store, their prices start at $39 and all shipping's free.
What? All the shipping's free?
On top of that, bitch. Plus, our listeners get 15% off the first order at framebridge.com when they use the code GETIT.
What is that? 15% off?
15% off.
Wow.
Yeah. FrameBridge has thousands of 5-star reviews and even offers a happiness guarantee.
And if for any reason you guys aren't 100% satisfied with your order, they'll make it right. We promise you guys. So we're telling you, framebridge.com is a way to frame anything in your life. So get started framing your photos or art today. Again, go to framebridge.com, use our promo code GETIT, GETIT, and you'll save an additional 15% off your first order. Just go to framebridge.com, promo code GETIT. Again, that's framebridge.com, promo code GETIT.
So this one girl on our board says, how to explain relationship anxiety to your boyfriend from past events, maybe even involving him without him thinking that you don't trust him. And I kind of relate to this because I went off my Prozac for about a year because I missed the highs. So I got the fucking highs and I couldn't handle it. Okay?
You were not off it for a year.
Yeah. It was a year.
I thought it was like 3 months and we were all begging you to go back on it.
Why?
Oh my God, she was a terror.
I was a terror.
The highs were too high?
She was
lows
scream
were too low.
crying
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. So when I started dating my current boyfriend, on our third date or something, I was like, look, I'm going to flip out if you ghost me or don't text me fast enough. And I sound like an absolute weirdo. So we want to know, how do we explain our past traumas to new boyfriends?
Yeah, so...
That's a good question.
Yeah, and it's a great question. You can either do it in couples therapy, or you can.
But if it's
tell
a new
them,
boyfriend,
Be like, hey,
you know,
these are my triggers.
Yeah, and I think you first of all don't open the X files until like date 3. But I think you say, what you need to know about me is, my Achilles heels are X, Y, and Z because A, B, and C. And that's an opportunity to create vulnerability and for you to get to know each other. And it's not I think a lot of guys are turned off by like, oh, because my ex was such a psycho and my dad is awful and but it's like you talk about it in a way, and when we talk about I language, I know it sounds really cheesy, but it works. It's like, and for me, what that did to me, I felt really abandoned when he did that. It makes you feel when you say like, and my ex-boyfriend who was awful to me and he was such a psycho and he did this and it makes you like, when I'm watching Southern Charm and you watch one of them go off on somebody else, you're like, oh God, what a psycho. But then when you watch them be vulnerable and they say, I was really, anxious when that happened. You feel compassionate for them, right? And that's what you should do in relationships.
I try to always say I feels, and then I realize I say I feel a lot.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So you're a feeler.
Because I don't want to put blame on anyone because it's just my personal experience and how I felt. So I don't want to be like, you are a bitch. It's like, I feel like you are a bitch. Do you have any questions, Naz?
Yeah. So I think my 2 mainly, which you probably already know about, Dr. Mike, but the first one kind of relates to what Lauren just brought up, and that's like after I send a text message to someone that I like or care about.
Yep.
I think it's...
You feel impending doom.
Exactly. I have low serotonin. I know this. But I sometimes feel like I won't get a response back, and I think it's because maybe a past experience. I'm not sure. But then I get so anxious and I start thinking about all the worst case scenarios. I'm like, oh my God, he's with another girl or this is going on. And like that whole hour to 2 hours before I get a response, I go through all these worst case scenarios. And I think I hope a lot of other people feel the same way I do. Or I feel like a loser. But how do we not do that?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most common questions and problems and issues in modern relationships. And the great news is that since people, especially in the beginning of a relationship, no one calls anymore.
Yeah.
Like we have an opportunity. There's a window of time. There's a little window of time we all have.
Amen.
When the text comes in, you have a window before you text back.
Right.
So in that window of time that you now have, you can take a deep breath and you can realize that pitfall thought pattern is pessimistic thinking, and under pessimistic thinking are catastrophic thinking, worst case scenario thinking. So the text comes in or the text doesn't come in, right? And it's like, oh my God, is he not into me anymore? He's going to break up with me. He met somebody else. And then the text comes in 3 hours later. He's like, sorry, I was in a staff meeting, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, I just went through the worst case scenario of like everything that could have been wrong. And I was about to send a text like, are you not into me anymore?
I literally have a text to Lauren saying like, I feel like he's with another girl. And then like 20 minutes later, I was like,
he texted me. He's with another girl.
Right.
He texted me.
And
But Dr. Mike, why do I do that? But it's not only with guys. I think it's because I'm so OCD and so me being an Aries, I don't know if like astrology falls into this, but I get back to everyone right away.
I like astrology.
That's my personality. Like I just like to get shit done and over with. Like yes,
like so you couldn't imagine someone taking more than 30 minutes to respond to anything.
Yeah, because that's how I am. But that's unfair to put that standard on everyone else, and I know that. But it still doesn't stop even with me knowing that. It's still just it like goes off in me, and it's like something I can't control. I'm like, why am I mad right now? You know.
Well, I think it is both nature and nurture, and I think it is who you are, but I think just like she could change OCD with exposure therapy, you can change. So, epigenetics says that, the gun is loaded and maybe something in your environment like an ex pulled that trigger, and that's the way. So you are the the way you are because that's the way you are.
Because
so maybe
that happened to me, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe it's a little bit of genetics, but it's also what happened to you, and they collided. And that's, like when somebody gets breast cancer, it's their family history, and maybe they ate the way they ate, and that collided, and now they have breast cancer, right? Mm-hmm. And by the same token, you have a family history, and then a guy, gave you abandonment issues, and that's the way you are, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that's
but does that mean that's who I have to be forever?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that that's your what's the word I'm looking for? Not destiny. It's not it's not your curse. It's not your curse, right? So you can change it. So I think that looking at the therapy and looking at exposure therapy, it's looking at, what would I know this is another cheesy exercise, but it does work. It's like, what would the ideal version of myself do in this situation? Mm-hmm. And like, do that. And just like it's going to be hard for you to not, do the, your
things.
little touch
it's
the
like
frog.
You just have to like not freak out a bunch of times to know that it's like going to be fine.
Yeah. And every time you do it, it'll become 1%. Your brain will learn, and it's going to take 100 times. But every time you choose the right, quote, right thing that your ideal version of yourself would do, it becomes one. Your brain learns like 1%. Oh, maybe that is the thing that I would do. Right. And then the 100th time that you do that, it is the thing that you actually just instinctually do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. So basically, everyone don't freak out a bunch of times,
right.
and then you won't freak out. So my second thing to you is, that I get extreme anxiety when I drive to Dodger Stadium. I host there live on the Jumbotron, and there's just something about live TV where I think you and I spoke about this, and you're like, well, if you do it a bunch of times, the more you do it, the less nervous you'll be. But I found that even with like a season under my belt, every time I drive there, I get like this feeling in my stomach, and I always end up doing fine, but I'm so fucking terrified of messing up. And I don't know if that's me being a perfectionist, being too hard on myself, but I think there's a biological, like, why do I get so much anxiety going to that job?
Well, I think
it's an understandably nerve-wracking job,
it
first
is.
and foremost.
But also,
For
like,
sure.
after doing it, it's like, why am I almost just as scared as I was the first day I did it, Like, why?
I think what you're saying does make sense. I think the first step is normalizing it.
Yeah.
And, we're talking about butterflies in your stomach. And, the fight or flight response, adrenaline is mostly the physical response. Norepinephrine sharpens the mind. And then cortisol, this third stress hormone sort of keeps the stress hormone response sort of pressed, right? So all of that stuff is going to make you feel anxious. But I also believe that we should lean into those stressful experiences because, I now that we've normalized it, I also want to reframe it for you because remember that stress hormones aren't a bad thing because when we look at research, when we have higher levels, have you ever had a panic attack? Have you ever passed out when you're hosting on Dodger Stadium?
I never have.
Okay, good. So we now know if you have never passed out, then we know in research that when you have stress hormones and the way you feel is evidence that the stress hormones are surging, we know that when people have moderately high levels of stress hormones, their performance actually improves. It only gets worse if they're having a panic attack or throwing up.
Physical
that's
reaction.
so interesting because I feel like every time I'm doing something on TV or whatever that's more nerve-wracking, I feel better coming off stage and I'm like, oh, I feel good about what I just did.
Yeah.
But if I just go into it kind of chill, like a regular day at Clever or something, I'll be like, I can't read the prompter. I'm so used to this, and I stumble because it's not a nerve-wracking thing.
Right, and I think Ashley's right. Like when we're more stressed, it keeps us from being mediocre in a sense because we're not just like, oh, I'll just wing it, whatever. It's like we want to do well, but I just don't understand physically why. And I've talked to Lauren about this too, where I've considered taking beta blockers because when I'm interviewing someone live, my heart beats so fast. But I'm fine in my head. So I'm like, if this would just stop, I'd be fine.
Golden.
Because I'm fine up here. It's my heart that just is racing.
We're a big fan of what's called, Lauren?
Propanolol?
Yeah.
Should I take something, Dr. Mike? Or do you think I should? You think I'll get over it? And this is for anyone nervous in any situation. The lady that did my makeup earlier today told me that she used to throw up every day before she went to school.
Yeah.
So
Lauren had school anxiety.
It took me a year and a half of doing big daytime talk shows before.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, he's on the doctor's.
Adrenaline, like I feel like my heart is coming out of my chest.
Yeah.
It took me a year and a half for that feeling to go away.
That's good to know, because I'll watch you on there, or I'll watch like Cupcake, and I'll be like, how are they not like dry mouth, heart pounding?
I
stumble
over
my words, Ashley, all the time. Yeah. And I know how to talk to you, right? Like here, but just because I know it's live, I like want to say the right thing, so then I live.
But here's the other trick. Remember that in your head, you are overestimating when you stumble over your words. You are taking a magnifying glass, and it doesn't matter.
It's like I'm a human.
Yeah. And then, like, even when my heart was coming out of my chest in my first year, I'll never forget it. Rachel Ray was my first national talk show, and I was like, this was like 5 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, Rachel Ray wants me on her show. I'm gonna like die. I'm so excited. Am I gonna do well? Oh my God. And my heart was coming out of my chest, and like they came after me, and they're like, oh my God, they love you. They want you back like next week. But I'm like, but my heart was coming out of my chest. I couldn't breathe.
You can see, like, I've always heard they can see my heart.
I know, same. That's how I feel at Dodger Stadium. But then people text me, they're like, you did great. You were amazing. And I'm like, was I?
Right.
I blacked out. I don't even remember what I said.
So looking at so you have to look at the subjective evidence from the world. So even though in your head you're overestimating, like, oh my God, I stumbled. Oh my God, I'm terrible. The evidence from the world is saying you're great, right? Yeah. So you have to take that evidence as the more important evidence.
And just be confident.
That's right.
So I avoid all situations that give me heightened anxiety, hence why I feel like I'm just stagnant, is that the word, in my life, because I don't want that at all. Like interviews, I won't do it because I get scared.
She won't do interviews for jobs, not TV
like, I need
interviews.
A job, but like jobs. I get so nervous, I can't push myself to do it because I'm just like, the feeling is so terrible to me.
But she's so personable.
Feel like, yeah. But I think that's all of us, right? It's like we all are. Like, but
I'm avoiding greatness and actual success because I hate those moments you all just described so much.
So what can Lauren do for that, Dr.
Lauren,
Ray?
you have to go through it, not around it. And if you don't, you're not going to grow.
You have to be uncomfortable.
I feel like I did so much growing and I just stopped because I was so scared.
You have to remember that if you just lean into the hard stuff is how you change and how you grow.
I know.
Breakthrough.
I know it all.
That's why I drive to Dodger Stadium every day. I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
I'm like, Naz, you don't actually have to drive there. You can just not go.
I know, but I'm like, I have to. This is a good opportunity. Like, how can I not?
I would tell Ashley, like, failure is an option.
Lauren classically said to me, failure is not good.
And this, bad. And when you ask me about, well, should I take a beta blocker? Okay, if somebody is going to take a benzo or a beta blocker, I would only recommend it in this circumstance. If you are going to take it, you better, I don't like them, but if you are going to take it, you better use it in combination with cognitive behavioral therapy. And what I mean by that is, if you are just going to take it and not grow, that is doing you a disservice.
You're getting addicted to it.
Yes.
And you won't ever change.
If you were going to use it for the short term and use it once or twice as a means to force yourself, and for the first, like in a graded exposure therapy, right? Like when somebody has a phobia and it's like, okay, I'm afraid of a snake, and like, okay, for the first, I'm like, if somebody was so afraid of a snake, like they like literally pass out if I like pulled up a phone. Like a picture of a snake on my phone. There are people like I've treated like this. Like they literally pass out if I even like show a picture of a snake over here.
Really?
Like if like for the first 2 sessions they need one Xanax for that first step. Okay, fine. But we're using it for a goal. So
I feel that way when people pull up Milo Ventimiglia. No, but seriously, you guys don't.
So if you were going to use something like that to grow and then not need it anymore, okay. But if you're just going to use it as an avoidance, it's actually just going to make things worse.
The only time I took it was when I avoided the public speaking class I had in college till the last semester possibly could take it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do public speaking. And then I got propranolol, which got me through it. And that's the only time I've ever used it.
I talk about, in the Brain Fog Fix, my last big book, I talked about this and I looked at the research and it was crazy. People who use benzos like Xanax and Klonopin, and they're still very, very common. the anxiety for most people gets way worse in the long run, not better.
That's why Dad always said, don't take the Xanax. Like, if he never wanted us to take it as something that you would use more than a couple times a year.
No.
Yeah.
It's terrible. The ER visits are going way up for benzos. The addiction rates are going up. And it makes your anxiety worse.
No, I wouldn't take because I want to feel like I want to remember why I was anxious.
Is there something before, because we have so many listeners that want to ask you questions that have their own anxiety and depression questions, but because I think what Lauren just brought up is extremely relatable, is there something Lauren and other people can do before going in a job interview, like a movement or something, to make them feel more themselves and less eager to throw up or just not even want to get in the car and go?
Yeah. I like a little star pose, from yoga.
Like Patrick the Star.
Yeah, like you just finished a race, like
hands up in the air.
And I also just like, remembering and a little reframe that feelings are information, and feelings are information, and they're good information, and they're actually telling you that you're in a novel, challenging situation. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, you're learning and you're growing and you're becoming better. Mm-hmm.
But feelings aren't facts.
But feelings aren't facts. And they're also not, when it comes to anxiety, feelings aren't something that need to be medicated away to a zero.
Yeah.
So I think the American mentality is, oh my God, I'm feeling something. It needs to go down to a zero. That's not
I had that with all the emotion shaming I had in The Bachelor. It was like, holy crap, somebody medicate this girl. I was like, haha, I'm medicated.
I love it.
But they were like, medicate her. She's like she's so emotional. It's not normal. I'm like, no, the fact that you expect people to be so even keel all the time,
it's annoying.
And I'm not
on medication, and I think I cry just as much, if not more, than Ashley. But that's because of my serotonin, right?
Probably. Yeah, low serotonin is
no one's normal. There's
if tears make you feel better than cry, because like when I cry, it's to get like the pain out of my stomach and into my eyes.
Crying makes you feel better.
I cried like 5 times. I met the founder of Charity Water last week, and he showed this video to like 20 of us, and I was like, I cried like 5 times just watching the video. I was so moved. I cry all the time.
His name's Scott, right? We want to bring him on a podcast. I'll talk to you guys about it. He's so cool.
There's a girl has a question on here, and I found it also very relatable. She gets more anxious when she drinks, and that's why I don't drink anymore, is because I just get super in my head. Is there like a chemical reason for that?
I mean, yeah, some people are allergic to alcohol. Some people, can't process it. That Asian flush response. And some people, some have a paradoxical response to all drugs. 99% of people when they take a benzo feel really calm. Some people get really insane when they take a benzo. That's true for pretty much all drugs. So, chemically, alcohol is a depressant. So she should feel more calm. But, remember, alcohol also does increase dopamine. So there is an upper that it also boosts. In addition to being a general depressant, it is also an upper in some ways. So, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything in tequila that really does get you higher? Like has a happy drunk?
Tequila's my fave.
It's definitely not mine.
I love tequila.
I think it's absolutely
I love
repulsive.
sipping. My new thing is
Tequila,
sipping mezcal.
grapefruit.
I love sipping mezcal.
Have you had Casamigos?
Oh, I love Casamigos.
I feel like I'm like with George Clooney when
I can't. Yeah.
But is there something scientific to that?
That's funny.
Well, when you drink hard liquor in general, so when you get that like huge surge of dopamine, it does feel more like a high. So like when you look at people like shooting tequila, the dopamine surge is so high that it can almost feel like an upper sometimes.
Because that's usually take shots of tequila, not really much of anything else.
It's definitely a shot thing. Yeah.
And anytime that you have to prepare yourself for something that is going to burn and be you're actually gonna physically like, oh, this is gonna be disgusting. That's a lot of adrenaline, so that's another upper, right? So like if you're taking like a shot of cheap tequila, like what do? You're like, oh god, I'm anticipating something that's awful. So now you have a stress response, which is an upper. So then even before the dopamine, you're actually getting adrenaline. So so that can
my
be
heart
upper.
races with Listerine.
Hilarious. Real quick, I want to go to a question from someone that sent me a message privately because I didn't want to write it in our Facebook group. And they said 1 week ago today, my father took his own life. He struggled with depression his entire life, and it got the best of him. Besides sorting through my own grief at the loss of my father, there's an added layer of complexity to this loss, and it's that many of my family members feel like they need to hide how he died. I think many of them feel shame and guilt. However, I don't feel that way. Depression is an illness and a very misunderstood one. I don't have a specific question for Dr. Mike, but I think it would be helpful to have him explain the differences between a healthy brain and a depressed brain. Also, if he has any advice on how to navigate the loss of a close family member to depression, it would be greatly appreciated.
Wow, what an important question. And, whoever this is, I just, my heart goes out to you. And, I think the most important advice is just to do what is going to help you to get through that day. I think early in grief, I just say to, wake up and brush your teeth and feed yourself and then repeat for a while, and also remember that we're like snowflakes when it comes to grief, where no two people are alike, and just sort of honor that process. But yeah, there are a lot of differences, and yes, depression is an illness. So when we look at, we're talking about TMS, this treatment for depression, and I really recommend
the
magnet one. I think it's a really great treatment for especially more severe cases of depression or anxiety, and it's an alternative. I was treating somebody who literally his depression was so severe that he often had contemplated suicide, and he could never imagine a life without a lot of medication, and he did it, and he's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe
really helped him.
I can't believe I'm off medication and I feel great.
Wow,
I can't believe it.
So cool.
And he's like this young, handsome, straight dude that I'm sure any of y'all would. Well, any of the single people. But it really, maybe no, just I can't. But
come on.
Dr. Patient confidentiality.
But it really does work, and so to this point, to this young lady's point, to this listener's point, or maybe she's not young, to this woman's point. I'm assuming she's a woman. The brain is different in depression. So we know that the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is underactive. So the brain structures are different. We know that there's low serotonin, low dopamine. We've been talking a lot about street drugs because that's how most people understand the chemicals, right? That's how I always throw them out.
Yeah, it's easier to understand that way.
There's also a really new treatment for people with severe depression. They now use the street drug ketamine.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Lauren liked ketamine during her drug phase.
How do you guys know about all this stuff?
So Special K, ketamine, is actually really effective for people who are suicidal.
That's crazy because it's fun. You're like in a video game.
What is ketamine?
Ketamine was originally used
as a cat tranquilizer.
Don't try it. It was a horse. I thought it was a horse tranquilizer.
So ketamine was originally used as a tranquilizer for animals, and then it became a party drug. But now we're realizing it's probably the most effective antidepressant for people who are suicidal.
Whoa.
Do you snort it?
You get an IV.
Oh, okay.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No. Don't go out looking for Special K.
So if somebody is like, I'm going to kill myself today, you give them a little bit of ketamine IV, and they will feel not suicidal like within 12 or 24 hours.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. So there are treatment options that work really really fast. So even TMS, which works really, really well for severe depression, it's going to take a month. And if somebody's suicidal, we don't have that kind of time, right? So listen, I'm not suggesting that anyone at this table needs to go out. And by the way, there are clinics. So we use it in inpatient facilities where somebody's like, I'm suicidal. We're like, great, give them some ketamine IV. Great,
wow,
cool.
Interesting.
We use ketamine for people with really severe treatment-resistant depression. So there are ketamine clinics all over LA now. So a psychiatrist or an anesthesiologist will.
Our dad's an anesthesiologist.
So there you go. They will actually every they'll figure out a schedule. I mean, and listen, there are some side effects. So like it doesn't like can kind of wreck your bladder. So it's like this is not the treatment that I would recommend unless it's like I've tried everything and I still want to kill myself.
Right.
You can go on a low dose of ketamine and get an injection every 3, 4, 6, 9 months, whatever. And sometimes it keeps the depression at bay, and you can be a normal functioning human being without having to take a shit ton of medication your whole life.
Cool. Thanks, Dr. Wayne.
Oral it is a medication, so not a shit ton of pills every day, which I think is a good thing.
We have so many questions, so we want to get through as many as we can.
A lot of them are just like natural ways to get over crippling anxiety. We've gotten that probably 50 times.
There's one girl who says, how can you get help when you don't have the money or insurance to see a therapist? I would recommend getting Dr. Mike's book, right? What would you recommend?
Yeah,
Dr. Mike?
my book has a lot of like CBT do it yourself, so it's like, you can get my book for $1.99 on Amazon right now for the ebook version. So like it costs $2. Wow. So anyone can afford that. Or you can go to, if you don't have $2, you can go to the library and get it. But I also think that friends are a great support system. There are 12-step groups and support systems, your support.
Heartbroken Anonymous, guys.
Yoga classes.
Workout. I go to a meditation studio called Unplug in Los Angeles, which is amazing. They have breathwork classes, and I found breathwork has helped me a lot cure my anxiety. Breathing for an hour heavily can actually really help you guys. It's kind of weird and crazy.
I have a chapter in Heal Your Drained Brain all about pranayama in people who...
What did you say, Lauren? I missed it.
It probably smells like bad breath in there.
Probably.
You're far enough. That's funny. I have the worst sense of smell, so thank God. But
it works. People who survived the tsunami, I have a chapter in my book about it, and some techniques. It helps to treat major depression and PTSD because it helps your nervous system to go up and down. So if you're like, we had a question about somebody who was like sleeping like 10 hours a day. If depression is really a low energy disorder, right? So if you need to teach depression is really about teaching the nervous system to rise and come back up. And pranayama, especially the activating practices like bellows breath, it's sort of like interval training with your breath. So it's like, okay, breath, okay, come up, okay, then down, right? So bellows breath, up, and now diaphragmatic breathing down.
You're awakening your nervous system.
That's right.
Oh my God, I'm getting so smart. Ashley has a question.
Okay, what do you do when you're having an anxiety attack? First, what's the difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack?
Same thing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
So she asked, what are the best steps to take when you're suffering from an anxiety attack? I asked this because this morning I had a crippling anxiety attack. In my mind, I was a calm adult explaining to my significant other how I was feeling and what I was going through. But he says I was acting like a child and throwing a tantrum, and it was embarrassing for him. So I guess there's two questions in one. What do you do when you have an anxiety attack to calm yourself down without meds? And then what do you do when you have a family member not understanding what you're going through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think one of the best things to do is to do what works for you. Because when you're having a panic attack, what works for one person is going to actually make another person even more anxious.
Definitely.
So a lot of people say, oh, well, I know that chewing on ice is the thing that like helps me to like interrupt the panic attack. Okay, great. So chew on ice.
Yeah. What are some examples of things people do that may or may not work for anyone listening?
So diaphragmatic breathing, I think, is a really good one. So when your nervous system, really what a panic attack is really a surge of stress hormones, and it's the sympathetic nervous system taking over and just surging way too fast. So when that happens, the sympathetic nervous system, because it's thinking it's preparing you to run away from a tiger, it's thinking that it needs more oxygen. So your breathing is going to get way too fast. So instead of becoming inhalation dominant, you want to shift your brain to become exhalation dominant. So a really simple way to do that, and this is great even for people who don't have panic attacks, is to make your exhale twice as long as your inhale. So I recommend 3-6 breath. So just inhale to the count of 3. Let's do it right now.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you see how
that's a lot of breathing out?
So, and it feels so foreign, right? Because we're used to right? But that out breath, and it doesn't have to be exact to my count, but just make the exhale twice as long. Because that is it's going to trick your brain into thinking that the danger has passed and that you're okay.
Okay.
Another question someone asked, which I actually really enjoyed because I grew up in South Florida where there's a lot of sun. And here in LA, we have a lot of June gloom happening. And sometimes I feel like the climate and the weather totally affects my mood. So this person
100%.
asked, is seasonal depression a real thing? And
1,000% it is, yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so remember I was talking about the cortisol test that I recommend. I took it. I loved it. It's really interesting. So cortisol spikes in the morning, right? So we have a 50% spike in cortisol that wakes us up, right? So cortisol gets us going, and then it goes down at night. There's an inverse relationship, cortisol and melatonin. So at night, as cortisol, the stress hormone, is going down, the melatonin is going up, and then in the morning, they switch places. So then in the morning, obviously, you want your melatonin to go down, and you want your cortisol to go up, right? That would get you out of bed. So our mitochondria, our cells, they're all programmed by light, right? So it tells our cells in our body are all designed to take the natural light that is coming in through our eyes, and it tells our cells, including the cells in our brain, when to move and when to be asleep. So if we get more light, it tells those cells, hey, wake up, right? And it's not only our circadian rhythms, but if we are not getting any light, and those circadian rhythms are off, right? So insomnia.
That's why people in Alaska, right, Lauren? I think you told me this.
What did I say?
People in Alaska are like, they suffer from, are there more suicide rates in Alaska, or they suffer from a lot of depression because they
It's
barely
light all the
see
time
sun?
in Alaska.
I would guess that it would be really hard, and we know that people with...
No,
it changes.
it's opposite.
It's bright until
their day's very short, I thought.
I think it changes on where you are seasonally.
There's different places in the
Either
world.
way, it's
Some are
rough.
way
Yeah.
bright,
If you have,
some are
It's not
too much or
normal.
too little,
Yeah.
it's rough.
Right.
So we know that circadian rhythms are associated, you want to keep them healthy. And even just being indoors too much, it's just not good for our brains. And it can really trigger a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. So we really want to get natural light. And if you can't, or if it's too dark, then all you need is like $100 light box from Amazon. And you want to make sure that you get one that's like 10,000 lux or greater, and then you just want to use it first thing in the morning. You can put it like next to you as you're putting your makeup on in the morning, and you can use it again if you need another boost like around noon, or you can just like if there is sunlight outside, you can take a walk, or if you have a window, like where I'm sitting right now, I can see the natural light. This would be a great place to work. But closer to your living room would not be a great place to work, right? So a lot of our light bulbs that we use in everyday life, especially the compact fluorescent bulbs, are just not great.
Fluorescent bulbs don't make you look good, and they're not good for your brain.
Yeah, and they have a lot of blue light, which suppress melatonin production. So you really want to keep those out of your bedroom because those can throw off your circadian rhythms at night, and so can LED bulbs. So a lot of people have those low watt LED bulbs. So if you want to save electricity, you can get the Good Night or the nighttime LED bulbs, which take out the blue light. They kind of have like a reddish candlelighty hue to them. Or you just use like the good old fashioned incandescent light bulbs and put a dimmer on them. That's better for your brain.
Okay. I feel like...
Okay, we'll take one last question. And someone wants to know, as a friend, how do you help another friend with anxiety and depression? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, I think you just support them in the way that they need them, and also realize that you want to support them without enabling them, So like if you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, like this person really needs help, then you just also sometimes need to say that in a loving way, hey, we all have those friends that just like drain us, right? So there was this, I think this was a book, right? I feel like I read this like 15 years ago or something, but it was, the whole premise of the book was like, we all have this energy bucket, right? And we all leave people, and some people fill our bucket up, and we feel good. And some people, like, every time we leave them, they're like, oh my God, my bucket is empty. They took all my energy. And I'm like, my bucket is empty every single
Lauren and Ashley hanging out with everyone.
Wait, what?
When we hang out with anyone?
With everyone.
What do you
We
mean?
fill each other's bucket up.
Yeah.
But if you leave people and they leave you empty every time and they're like suicidal or, you know, something that's like that is not.
I can think of somebody who
you can't
always
handle
empties
that.
my
Like,
bucket.
you shouldn't be handling that. That's like a mental health professional thing to handle. Then you need to say, like, I love you, but like I'm concerned, you know, like major depression. I feel like I need to, like, how can I support you? How, you know, obviously suicide, that's like something that needs to be handled like right now. That's like a 911 thing, right? But if it's like depression or anxiety, that's like how can I help you? Like, can I help find an in-network therapist for you? You know, like how, you know, like, how can I help? Like, how can I connect you to the professional that is going to help you? That's,
Right.
Sometimes my friends think that I am the professional. It's like I can't only listen for so long.
Right.
Yeah.
And professionals, you know, like some of the questions that y'all asked me today, it's like, right, I'm sure hopefully I had answers for you that you wouldn't have had for your friends, and maybe they need some of the answers that I would have that you don't have because it's not what you do.
So find a therapist. Is there like a website to do that, or?
Yeah, there's a great one that I use a lot. I refer people to a lot. Psychology Today has a therapist finder with like photos and like,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
you can like put in your insurance company and like,
that's
and
great.
it has like a little write up of every therapist in any city. So it's like, oh, I need somebody who specializes in anxiety for teens who takes Blue Cross.
Yeah.
And here's my zip code. Great.
That's a great site.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mike, this was extremely helpful. I think it's really good, and hopefully it's creating conversation, because no one ever wants to say I'm depressed or I suffer from anxiety like to their friends. So
And remember,
thank you for coming on and answering everyone's
Of
questions.
course, we're as sick as our secrets, so thank you for talking about this really important topic.
Do you have anything else you'd like to plug before you leave?
Yeah, just my new book, Heal Your Drain Brain, and this fall is my new Chicken Soup for the Soul book, which is called Think, Act, and Be Happy.
I'm so happy you're writing it. And I also want to say, so many people wrote on Facebook, what are different poses and movements we can do? So just so you guys know, you can find pictures of Dr. Mike actually doing them in his book. So refer to the book for those.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Dr. Mike.
Amazing.
Bye.
Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.